Mark, that first 25 minutes probably out of keeping to what we've seen from your team in the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, look, it was. I haven't seen that for a long time. It was a reminder of
Cambridge.
Yeah, I was going to say that, or Peterborough I was thinking of more than Cambridge. Bitterly disappointing for sure. Very. What I don't want to come out and criticise anybody. Ultimately, it's my responsibility, and but I want to stay balanced on what I've seen so far this season. That was not good enough from us in any way, shape or form all over the park. But I want to remain balanced on what I've seen over the course of time, which tends to be evidence of what you're doing or where you're going. But today we were, Burton deserved everything today, all over the park. So yeah.
And I can't imagine your coaching staff didn't talk about crosses, didn't talk about long throws and set pieces, and 2 of the 3 goals were from that.
Yeah, look, it's again, there's yes, your questions are right. It wasn't. It was other things. We talked about the pitch being so small, where all the space is. We talked about not playing false football in our own half, particularly on a pitch like today. And when you look at the pitch, and yet first 2 balls down our left-hand side were short, which ended up getting a throw in from, and then a corner from. One was from left side, then inside left, and then even the second goal, having been hurt twice by that, we then try and play a really poor ball into Jack Diamond in a tight space where all the space in behind, and from that they actually score a goal. And it's like all the things we talked about where we felt we could hurt them, we didn't do. All the things we talked about where we felt we could put ourselves in trouble with it. It was, unfortunately, it was a forgettable performance on our behalf. But I have to emphasise, one game won't define us. Are we happy? No. Is it acceptable? No. Will there be a reaction? Yes. But it's not fair on anybody to let one game define us. But it wasn't good enough today.
Just finding one of the other goals, I think it was the second, the shot he had. You talked about a lack of space, but he had far too much, didn't he, to move across the penalty area?
Yeah, far too much. Look, and as I said, that was the one. It came from a poor. To answer your question in a nutshell, a decision making massively let us down today, and it was a ball into Jack. He's got to do better with the ball. It was a poor ball. There's not a lot he can do. But from that, they get a throw in. We let him out too easy. Smith is a good player. I was at their game against Barnsley. He looked a handful in that game. But to let him come inside on his left foot, and then unfortunately he went past player A too quickly. Player B didn't move his feet. And the finish was incredible in the end, but there was so much wrong with that goal. It was a bad day.
A tactical change, obviously, of bringing Joe off.
Yeah, and I said to Joe, it's nothing to do. We had to give our wing backs. It's a strange thing to say because we had 5 defenders, and yet we looked particularly vulnerable with that. So what I want to do was to give both wing backs more protection, particularly with the way the game was going in terms of the distances between our outside, our 7-11 and our wing backs was too big. We weren't getting enough pressure on the ball to stop their direct play, and in the end our wing backs and our outside centre halves were coming isolated, so it was more about giving them an extra line of defence in front of them, and actually to change the style of the game into what it looked like. As you see with the second half, we were a little bit more direct, and we actually looked a better team for it in the second half today. Every game's different. Friday will be completely different.
Tom's one of your senior players. He talked to us obviously just before you came out. He talked about, I think every former player would understand this word's being said at half time. From your point of view, was it, because you have said you want to check yourself at times in everything you say, was that a difficult moment going in there, not wanting to let rip?
Yes and no. Yes, because you can't go in and pat him on the back. No, because I probably did enough of that on the side. I always trying to remain balanced. Like we had a really strong conversation after the game, but I think the manner and how you deliver a message is really important. There's been times where we've been screaming and shouting, but actually nobody's really listening to you, and it's important to think about how I speak to my kids. I don't scream and shout at them. It goes in one ear and out the other. It's how you get your message across, and the detail within your message is important. And actually, before we got into the dressing room, all that sort of thing was done by the players, which on one hand I was actually really pleased to see. There was huge disappointment and strong words for themselves, but it's a tight-knit group, and I'm actually looking forward to Friday already, because there needs to be a reaction. There will be a reaction, and I think the guys have proven that every time this year.
Had a couple of shots in the second half, and the team kept going. It's a small comfort, I guess, in some ways, because you don't change the result, but it must be at least that you see your players are still trying to get something out of the game, albeit just a goal towards the end.
Yeah, look, the one thing they never do, they never ever give up, they never roll over and die. I did think we were particularly passive in the first half today, but they never go missing. If I was Dino and I was stood on the side managing Burton in the second half, I'd have said, well, the game was over and it's up to you to come and get us. But I never felt it was from Burton. I thought we gave a decent account of ourselves in the first half, but unfortunately the game was probably out of reach by then. I thought we needed an early goal, which we didn't get. My disappointment was probably when I think we'd 8 shots in the second half, they had 1. But it was probably the disappointment in how long it took to get to there. So yeah, disappointing day for sure.
Fans stuck with you?
Amazing, and I've said this after, Peter, but it's hard to come out and kind of talk about that. I said to Danny's new to us, and I actually said to him early in the second half, I said that they'll just sing for the whole game now. They'll just get right behind us, and that's new to him. And he spoke about that afterwards. It was incredible, and even after the game, when we went to the fans, as hard as it was, because nobody wants that, the connection between the group was there to be seen. There was naturally some choice words from a few people, and we expect that and we accept that, and they're right to come our way. But on the whole, I thought the response from everybody after the game was fantastic. It's another example of what we have here at the club, but there's no way that we want our fans, or they should be going home after a game with a performance like that. So we're not going to try and sugarcoat that. He wasn't good enough today.
Bolton, you said obviously Friday looking for a reaction.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the great thing about football. Where there's a potential to get 9 points in a week, 3 games. That one's out of the way. So you've seen the atmosphere at home this year. There'll be a huge turnout. Really top team coming to our place. I think we've done really, really well against the big teams this year, and the minimum you would expect, or you will get, is a reaction. But I think, as I said, I want to say that because I mean it, but actually if I look at 9 out of 10 games that we've played this year, we've always had that anyway. So I don't think there'll be much needed to say to get a performance from the guys.
We've moved into dark. We have to ask these questions. I saw you having a long chat with Jez George. Are you hoping for anything, any sort of early January presents?
That's not something we talked about actually, but look, we have constant recruitment. They're very difficult actually, because what you want, what's available, what you can get, financial implications, been in a rat race with several other clubs, positions that you're looking for. Sometimes there's good players out there that are not in the position you're looking for. It's about finding the right player for us. We know what we need and what we want, and huge credit to Jez, because they're constant conversations that happen. Every week without fail, we sit down and we have a meeting for 2 hours, but the constant conversations that go on every day. So unfortunately I can't answer your question at the minute, but we spent hours and hours on the subject.